Oh god. Hey everybody. Welcome to the most shameful take two I've ever done so far on the channel, let alone the college playlist thing. Technically this qualifies as like drink 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 of my recording here. So here's what happened. I started a recording on my camera maybe half an hour ago, maybe even more. I could not see the recording on my camera because, I don't have it visible on the screen. All I have visible is me and that little thing right there. So here's what the procedure was for take one, which I don't know when take one ended because I just formatted the memory card for my camera. Because when I turned my camera around after realizing, oh shit, you guys couldn't see anything that I was looking at because I didn't do a recording in OBS to go along with the fucking recording in the camera. The camera had run out of memory space. So I fucked up super hard. So the procedure was, I recorded my initial reactions to this video, which is the video that I had to provide all the sounds for myself. I wasn't allowed to watch the video with the original sound before I was done with the project, and now that my project has been critiqued by my classmates, I figure I'm free to watch the original. Suffice it to say, I'm gonna try to recreate it, sort of, but it's not gonna work. You're not gonna get my raw reaction, because I have seen now the original video with the original audio. The original thing, in my opinion, compared to my version, is really bad in terms of audio. Okay? I am super willing, and I will go through my entire project, maybe a bit faster, maybe a bit less accurate, because, I've had more time to get more of this going. I'm gonna go through my entire project again, now that I've realized I fucked up and nobody could see what I was talking about. God, how did I not even realize that? Anyways, so let's go through the real thing real quick. Full screen. We didn't have the future shorts thing. So the real thing starts with this eerie background sound. I don't care about your fucking notification. Or annotation. So based on these first couple shots, I actually thought that this was all going to be diegetic audio. Just in camera as it was happening audio. But then we get to this pomegranate, and it's just nonsense. That's like random robot sounds. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Then there's this background music that doesn't come from anywhere. The knife hits are fine. The toaster is fine. The turnip doesn't have any real, what the hell was the interpretation of the turnip there? It's just strange. The toaster sounds fine. The footsteps are just kind of like as if they had tapped on a surface for a little while. I think there's no sound really for this fish. Oh wait, there is sound for this fish, and it just sounds like shit. And I just realized on second viewing of this real sound. Let's go back a bit. Hang on. Okay, that voice clip right there, that's supposed to be the kid in the next room naming the colors of the records. But we haven't gotten that far yet. Why are... Like, it's not a J-cut. I will get back to the J-cut being a good thing when we get later into this shit. I don't know what the hell they were going for with this eerie sounding weird nonsense. That's fine. We just didn't have any context for it before. No sound whatsoever for that slurp. Or for him sipping his tea. Nonsense sound for him hitting the button. Pretty much nonsense sounds for the reel-to-reel going on. Nothing sound for that turnip again. Mistimed, first of all, and weird-ass alien techno bullshit sounds for these golf balls. It just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And it's like 343 Guilty Spark modulated, like it's going down and back up. Bread, like it has kind of a crunchy stabbing sound, but there was like an L cut with the kid saying the thing. Oh shit, I was hitting the wrong button. Sorry. We'll do this right. Just kidding. There is... Yeah, there's an L cut where he says the color again. It's really weird. They cut out the reel-to-reel sound altogether. And there was just weird techno sounds going on. Those sounds don't make any damn sense. Neither does that. The hell is with all these fucking reverb effects? And then, okay, this is where I got pissed off the first time I watched this. All this music for the rest of this short is just ridiculous. It's like they got lazy and they just decided to include a bunch of music to cover all the shit that they would otherwise have to do. Alright, so that whole set of clips, they got really lazy. They didn't really include any actual sounds. They included a bunch of music. Because they knew, maybe, that they got too ambitious with how chaotic they were making things. Just too much. Fake cat sounds. I won't say my sound was better for this, but I think my idea that I didn't implement was better, which was just like a hard feedback loop, like escalation. This is weak. trash. So, oh man. On to take 2 of me going through my thing. I'm gonna do an edit here just to, you know, give myself a little bit of a break. Okay, I'm back, and I don't, other than rearranging my tie to create a continuity error, I don't remember why I stopped. Anyways, this is mine. This is my version of the thing, and I'm gonna go through it sound by sound to tell you all why I made every particular sound versus the original thing. And I know I'm gonna have an editing bitch of a job to do tomorrow after class and after sober. So, let's get to it, shall we? Okay, so first sound in the video is this bright ass white screen. That is the sound of me letting the air out of a tightened balloon to be as annoying as possible, because anytime something goes from very low to very loud, or not very low to very loud, that's a justification. Very dark to very bright, it hurts my eyes, and therefore I thought it should be loud and annoying and hurt your ears. So I did a high-pitched balloon sound. Then I combined, for this static area, the sound of like me running my faucet, as well as crinkling plastic bag. Maybe a couple of other static kind of sounding sounds. And then this sound, that is actually, I stuck my Zoom H1 recorder to a monopod, and then I extended that as much as I could over this, over a flowing creek, babbling brook, whatever you want to call it. Rocks, water flowing over rocks is what I had for this. It sounded peaceful because it contrasts with this nonsense static that we have going on here, right? And then as soon, like, the frame that this shit disappears, oops. Okay, it's still going. Why are you not going? So, like, the exact frame that maybe a couple frames before that disappears, I had I had recorded kitchen ambience, dining room ambience, which is just a bit further away from my fridge, and basement ambience, and those are the background tracks for every single shot in this, minus maybe a couple. This first drawer pull is the sound of one of my kitchen drawers, slowed down a bit because I was lazy and I didn't follow my classmates' example and class presentation example by the professor of just doing the action as you could see on screen the thing being done. I just took the sound of opening a drawer and, you know, slowed it down so it would be timed right. So let's pause and go back. So that's definitely just slowed down and by extension pitch shifted down so that it could be timed right. That's just an over-the-top sound of pulling a thing against, maybe rubbing against a couple of other things. This handle is actually the sound of me taking a little, like, Arca Swiss compatible tripod adapter thing, and there's a little screw that slides in the little adapter, and I just flicked that screw a couple of times, and that's how I got the sound of the handle. And then the drawer pull is actually just separated sounds of drawer pulling and hitting the end. For that little sausage shot, I couldn't figure out how to most accurately portray the sound of sausages being pulled at all. One person in my class did that really well by taking actual rope, knotting it up a bunch, and pulling it over a bench. That sounded really good. I did not feel like tying up my 25-foot XLR cable and pulling it over anything that I have. I could have done this fairly accurately, but I just chose not to, because fuck that. That's a lot of work. But what I did choose to do is provide a sound for when the sausages flip that little leaf of lettuce over. And I thought I timed that pretty well. And then there's general kitchen ambience going on. That is just the sound of me crunching a plastic bag, I think. There you can hear some general cable static that you would get from touching a cable that's connected to any kind of amplifier. So here we go with the general thing that I was trying to go for, which is when he plugs into a thing, what would that thing sound like if it was given consciousness or a voice? So the pomegranate has some kind of connotation with being devil's fruit, or having, you know, some connotation with the afterlife and maybe damned souls. So I thought screaming a bunch in my car would be what we go for, and then I just took away the low end and the high end and did the telephone filter so it would sound like it was kind of coming out of his headphones. Maybe added a little bit of reverb. These book things, that's literally just me flipping pages in... Actually, just flipping pages of paper. It wasn't actually a book at all. This was me just dragging a knife across a plastic cutting board and, you know, scraping across as needed. The sound of the fridge there, I know for a fact that I didn't do this the best in my class. The best example, in my opinion, was the girl in my class that did a J-cut, where she maybe about here had a sound of something like wang jangling around in the background, and you're like, at this point in the video you're like, what in the hell is that? But then it cuts to this wider shot of, you know, the guy having the fridge open. And you're like, oh, okay, he's taking something out of the fridge. He's just jingling things around in the fridge, and it made perfect sense. And then there was still the sound of, like, she's clearly still cutting stuff. so I tried to keep in some knife hits. That's the real sound of my toaster. So here is the main conceit of my interpretation of this video. Is anytime he plugs into anything, I tried to think, what does that sound like? The turnips taste bitter, apparently. Bitter, to me, was like, oh, I'll just read incel comments, but syllable by syllable in a video type of voice. So that's what that was. All the toaster sounds were the sound of my actual toaster, and the sound of the steam coming out is just valid criticism that I got outside of my class, but in my Discord, was that these footsteps here, since I so heavily use the razor tool, you can definitely hear the static going in and out of the room sound. Like, those definitely sound like almost individually created sounds, but that's just me not bothering to time it based on the video. The fish plug-in is me taking my hand and splashing around in the bathtub bench.
Yellow.
And then I made sure, as he's walking away, we don't see it, but I figured he would be trying a bunch of stuff a bunch of times. I included the sound of him unplugging from the fish. Every single color that this kid says, I decided to include the word, just do it as the word yellow. I did actually record myself saying yellow maybe 15 to 20 times. That is purely because the video is called Synesthesia, and all of the text in this video is yellow.
Yellow.
That comes up a bit later as well, in a different context. All the static you're hearing, or possibly not hearing, is the sound of my basement, rather than the kitchen or the dining room. Actual slurp of either coffee or most likely whiskey. That, despite sounding like a Cherry MX Blue keyboard, is not the sound of a keyboard. I have a Cherry MX Red and an IBM Model M. The sound of this button was actually the sound of me flipping on and off. I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to regret doing it again. Whoop. This little thing here, the dark voice, this has a switch. That switch makes a very distinct sound, and that is the sound that I used for the switch in the video. I don't know why this is unfocused. So that's that sound. The reel-to-reel sound is the sound of me dragging or just frantically moving a chopstick against my green/blue screen. I didn't know what else to do for it. That shot is the turnip turned upside down, so I just reused some of the incel audio. Valid criticism I got in my class: the golf balls, or really anything that rolls out of the speaker, I don't have a sound for it rolling. But I do have a sound for it hitting the ground, which I tried to time based on like how many frames it took for it to fall or whatever. And then another valid criticism I got in my Discord, not in my class, or not as directly in my class, is that the first few of these, or maybe the first one only, I don't know, but the first golf ball hits sound a little bit too metallic, and the sound of me doing the golf ball things is I took the chopstick that was used for the green screen thing, and I took a metal mixing bowl, held it tight against the ground, and just hit the mixing bowl with the chopstick. And the tighter I held it, or based on where I hit the bowl, it made different sounds. So I tried to kind of make accurate golf ball sounds without going out and buying a bunch of golf balls. And then going frame by frame with these golf balls, I'm pretty sure they're golf balls, but going frame by frame with these is what made me give up day one of editing this. I think it took a total of 6 hours. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. I definitely mentioned it in take one of this, but whatever. Oh my god, this is already half an hour. This is take two, it's half an hour? Fucking god. Alright. Okay, so what IPAs do you have on tap is actually a question that I got of what was the bread trying to say. And I don't think I explained the critique well enough. So when we critiqued this project in class, what we were meant to do is run the video through twice. And then after we ran it through twice, we could ask for specific feedback of like what everybody thought, you know, what seemed out of place, what didn't sound like it should have sounded, what didn't sound convincing, whatever. And I actually asked for insults at the end of mine, and nobody said anything, which was disappointing. But one of the questions was, what was the bread trying to say? And the bread is trying to say, what IPAs do you have on tap? And that is a reference to Atlanta, when Niles E. Niles shows up and he does his Felon DeGeneres thing. Because to me it looks like white bread. It might be wheat. I pretty much doubt it though. I think it's white bread. But it's such a short shot that I don't get to finish the question. All these balls, I was trying to use different or increasingly lower pitches of the chopstick hitting the metal mixing bowl on the carpet. The wooden blocks hitting the ground, I tried to use a chopstick hitting or falling and hitting the cutting board. And then for the bunch of them hitting the ground, I used a bunch of wooden drink coasters just dropped on the cutting board. That shot of the green radish or whatever the hell it is, should not have the reel-to-reel green screen chopstick audio going because I think the shot is too tight to warrant it. But B, is so short that I couldn't really include a interpretation of what this would sound like. An interpretation of what this would sound like. I don't even remember what I wanted to do for this shot, but whatever it was, I just didn't do it. Again, I don't have a rolling sound of anything falling out of the speakers, but these egg break sounds are actually the sound of eggshells in my hand just being kind of crunched together. And then I genuinely don't remember what I used for these dirt sounds. But they sound like they're stripped right out of Minecraft, which, hey, good for me. That's just the sound of me dragging my knife across the plastic cutting board that I have, as well as the kitchen ambience right next to my fridge. That is the actual sound of me placing down a pan in the oven and then pushing it in. The timer is me taking a chopstick, setting a metronome for 240 beats per minute in like headphones or something, and then just tapping doot 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 doot, you know, on two different surfaces with the same chopstick, and then I just alternated between those. This thing looks like a tamale, which I thought would be, you know, sweat inducing because it's spicy. So I thought audible sweating. So I wrung out a rag that was soaked in water to kind of get some sweat noise. For these leaves coming out of the speakers, I thought just take some leaves off of the tree outside and then rub them against my hand, and that's what this is. Also reel-to-reel sound because there's a little bit of... It's in the shot up there at the top, right above my finger right now. And, you know, it's the same room. He maybe said yellow again. But that's all due to the fact that, you know, you can visually see him saying it. If there was subtitles, I would be more inclined to raise the audio of it. Meat is like mostly protein, so I thought like just flex, you know, just get hype, channel my inner Terry Crews. All the cats. A, I don't have access to a cat. B, I wanted to restrict myself to not use any pre-made sounds in this. So I figured I'm not going to go meow 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 to make all the cat noises. So I'm going to make all the cats Garfield / Gazorpazorpfield. I think it went well because this is the most consistent laugh I got out of my classmates. That there may be the sound of the eggshells, but it may also have just been for a lot of these stabbing into produce things, it was I had iceberg lettuce on the tip of a fork and I would just squeeze it to make crunchy sounds. So I think it might have been that plus the wet rag a little bit, just to give it a little bit of more moisture. The birds are the sound of me flapping the sleeves of a shirt against my hand. I should probably have had a yellow in there because there's definitely him talking into his recorder. This shot gets reused later, which is frustrating to me. But when he plugs into the acorn squash, I thought, oh, acorn squash is kind of sweet. So for sweet, I did baby talk or puppy talk. And then I made it kind of sound like it was coming out of his headphones because this is a sort of medium to wide shot. And then these fireworks I am so proud of because apparently, at least to my classmates, they were done so well that one of them thought that I had just used a pre-made sound. So the sound of the fireworks is the combination of crinkling plastic, running water in my kitchen, belt snaps, which were specifically timed to the biggest sparks, and balloon pops for the big, like, explosions of them. This shot, by the way, is my least favorite, most aggravating shot in the entire thing. So for plugging into the octopus, my interpretation was, let's read Davy Jones's lines from Pirates of the Caribbean 2 as if I was trying to read lines for N'Zoth from World of Warcraft / Hearthstone. And I thought that, and the way I kind of added effects to it was with a Protoss kind of echo before the sound, reverb, whatever, prior to the sound. So what it was I read the lines as N'Zoth, right? And then I reversed the sound in Audition. And then I added reverb. And then I unreversed the sound. And then I got this. That shot is so short that you only get to hear the word death. And that's only if you're paying attention. I thought that shot sounded super cool. But it's so short that you get none of it. I read like 8 or 9 Davy Jones lines and applied the effect to the entire clip. It's just complete waste. The speaker smoke is just me going over whatever.
Hey.
More reel to reel. The fireballs are just me picking up a shirt and doing that sort of stuff. The orange plug-in was supposed to be me reading Lumpy Space Princess lines, because Lumpy Space Princess for some reason sounds sour to me. The balls falling out was more chopstick metal bowl hits. More chopstick on 2 different surfaces, timer. Garfield, Gazorp Field Cats. There should be probably a second. Actually, this is what I was talking about with this shot being reused. Because see, he's plugging into the acorn squash again. The frog, I'm pretty proud of. It was a last minute while I was recording raw audio for this thing. That is the sound of me rubbing my hand against an inflated balloon and just pitched up a bit. This shot right here I actually explained in class. That I think, I'm pretty sure, is a lychee, and I know the general texture / flavor of a lychee, and to me it's just very smooth. So my interpretation of smooth was Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, as Jimmy's talking about his non-dead nigger storage thing, and he says, "Hey, that's cool in the gang." So this is me reading as, "Hey, that's cool in the gang," but you only get enough time in this shot for cool. You don't even get the full word cool. See? This tiny shot, again, is missing a rolling sound. And that's a reused sound of me dropping a bunch of wooden coasters on the ground. Or on my cutting board. The shot of this crunch might actually have been a reused balloon sound. I am genuinely not sure which sound I used for this. I could just open the Audition project and see, but I don't feel like it, so I don't care. That is... Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going forward. this sound here is actually the same sound that I used, and I didn't even realize this until just now. This is the same sound that I used for when they lift that weird thing off of the lettuce very early in the video. This sound is me swinging a stick in front of my Zoom recorder. And then this is the sound of me hitting a shaker tin with the chopstick. Lots of cable static. Kitchen room noise, oven, and paper scraps from my business card paper just flipped against my hand. So the fire and the birds, I think, might actually be the same sound. No. The birds are me flapping a shirt against my hand. The fire is actually the combination of a bunch of these. It's just layers of that. And then I added some Garfield, Gazorp cats. I amplified the hell out of the cable noise here because this is just the tightest shot of it. Simple balloon pop. The original idea for that thing was to create a feedback loop with my Google Home Max. But A, I didn't want to hear that shit, and B, I didn't feel like it at the time. Like, I was just being very lazy towards the end of this project. But I think the balloon pop worked well enough. Wide shot, bunch of cats, bunch of Garfield. One more yellow because the end text is yellow. So that's, I guess, the post-mortem of the Synesthesia Foley project. I don't know why you would have watched this, but if you did, good job. Hooray for me.